Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining this morning. It's still pretty dark outside, so you might not be able to see me too clearly because not enough light reflecting into the room at the moment. But as long as you can hear me, that's the good thing, because everything starts by hearing. So thank you so much for joining this morning. Srimad Bhagavatam class and Untitled Chapter. Last week, we talked about time, Kal, and how time affects everything from the smallest insect to the greatest Brahma, and from the smallest atom to the universe. Everything has a shelf life. Everything comes with a timer, and then it gets destroyed and created again. So today we are going to talk about the creation of the Kumaras and others, because that was Brahma is known as a generator. So he has to generate so many things, not just planets and and design other things like flowers and plants and trees, but he has to create other human living entities as well. So Shri Maitri said, "O learned Vidur, so far I have explained to you the glories of the form of the Supreme Personality Godhead in its feature of Kal. Now you can hear from me about the creation of Brahma, the reservoir of all Vedic knowledge. Brahma's birth is an extraordinary event occurring at the beginning of creation. Vishnu lies down within the universe and manifests a lotus flower from his navel, the stem of which contains all the planetary systems. Brahma appears on top of this lotus flower, and this firstborn being, unlike all others, has no material father, and thus he is called the self-born or Swayam Bhu. That's another name for Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma is a position. So this in our time, we have Brahma, and then after 100 years, when Brahma dies, another Brahma will come when the creation is created again. So let's do quick prayer. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukham Karoti Vachalam. Pangum Langyate Gurim Yat Kirpata Hamande Shri Guru Deen Taranam Paramananda Matram Shri Chaitanyeshwaram. Hari Om Tassat. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatojayam Udiriyat Nasta Preshava Vadareshu Nityam Bhagavad Sevya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nishtaki. Hare Krishna. So after Brahma is created, the same Bhu created without, has no material father, as it says here. And then what does Brahma do? It's Brahma's creations. Brahma first created the nascent ignorance, that is, ignorant engagements like self-deception, the sense of death, anger after frustration, the sense of false ownership, and the illusory bodily conception or forgetfulness of one's real identity. So seems like this is the first thing that's created. Before he creates living entities, he creates ignorance or illusion, so into which everybody will be born. These are the 5 kinds of ignorance, so nescience. So before the actual creation of the living entities in different varieties of species, the conditions under which a living being in the material world has to live were created by Brahma. So this is Rukmani Mataji questions of the day. So we'll try and elaborate on that. So why is the ignorance? Why are we created under illusion? It says here in Srimad Bhagavatam that unless a living entity forgets his real identity, it is impossible for him to live in the material condition of life. Therefore, the first condition of material existence is forgetfulness of one's real identity. And by forgetting one's real identity, one is sure to be afraid of death, although a pure living soul is deathless and birthless. This force, because we identify with the body. So, and we know the body dies, we see other people dying, so we know the body dies. This false identification with your nature is the cause of false ownership of things, which are offered by the arrangement of superior control. All material resources are offered to the living entity for his peaceful living and for the discharge of the duties of self-realization in conditioned life. But due to false identification, the conditioned soul becomes entrapped by the sense of false ownership of the property of the Supreme Lord. And seeing such a misleading creation as a sinful task, so Brahma thought this is not right. I'm just fooling everybody. So seeing this as a sinful task, Brahma didn't feel much pleasure in his activity. And therefore he purified himself by meditation on the personality of Godhead. Then he began another term of creation. So could say it's a thankless task which Brahma had to do. He wasn't happy, but service is service. Although he created the different influences of essence, Lord Brahma was not satisfied in performing such a thankless task. But he had to do it because most of the conditioned souls wanted it to be so. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita that he's present in everyone's heart and is helping everyone to remember and forget. Actually, his mercy is not exhibited in partiality towards one and enmity towards another. The living entity, as part and parcel of the Lord, is partially independent because he partially possesses all the qualities of the Lord, but in a very minute quantity. Anyone who has some independence may sometimes misuse it due to ignorance. When the living entity prefers to misuse his independence and glide down towards essence, the all-merciful Lord, first of all, tries to protect him from the trap. But when the living entity persists in gliding down to hell, which is his right, because he has some free will, if he wants to glide down to hell, then we have this right to do it, because we are given choice. So if you want to go down towards hell, then okay, so be it. But Krishna tries to protect, especially his devotees, he tries to protect them. But if they want to fall down, then so be it. The Lord helps him to forget his real position. The Lord helps a falling living entity glide down to the lowest point, just to give him the chance to see if he is happy by misusing his independence. So this is all the word of illusion. So this is why a lot of people think that the world is illusion. It's not real. Now we come to the four Kumaras. In the beginning, Brahma created four great sages named Sanak, Sananda, Sanatan, and Sanat Kumar. The four brothers. All of them were unwilling to adopt materialistic activities because they were highly elevated. Now, although Brahma created the principles of essence as a matter of necessity for those living entities who were destined to ignorance by the will of the Lord, he was not satisfied in performing such a thankless task. He therefore created four principles of knowledge: Sankhya, an empirical philosophy for the analytical study of material conditions; Yoga, or mysticism for liberation of the pure soul from the material bondage; Vairagya, the acceptance of complete detachment from material enjoyment in life to elevate oneself to the highest spiritual understanding; and Tapas, or the various kinds of voluntary austerity performed for spiritual perfection. So just to balance things out, we have illusion on one side, and then he created these principles of knowledge as well. Because we want to get out of illusion, then we need something higher. So Brahma created the four great sages, Sanak, Sananda, Sanatan, and Sanat, to entrust them with these four principles of spiritual advancement. And they inaugurated their own spiritual party, or Sampradaya, known as the Kumara Sampradaya, or later on known as the Nimbarka Sampradaya, for the advancement of bhakti. All of these great sages became great devotees, for without devotional service to the person of Godhead, one cannot achieve success in any activity or spiritual value. So, four Kumaras are now created, and Brahma has his own plans. Brahma spoke to his sons after generating them. My dear sons, he said, now generate progeny. But due to they being attached to Vasudeva, the Supreme Person of Godhead, they aimed at liberation and they expressed their unwillingness. The four sons of Brahma, the Kumaras, declined to become family men, even the request of their great father, Brahma. Those who are serious about gaining release from material bondage should not be entangled in the false relationship of family bondage. People may ask how the Kumaras could refuse the orders of Brahma, who was their father, and above all, the creator of the universe. The reply is that one who is Vasudeva Parayana, or seriously engaged in the service of the person of Godhead, Vasudeva need not care for any other obligation. Now, on the refusal of the sons to obey the order of the father, there was much anger generated in the mind of Brahma, which he tried to control and not express. Brahma is the director in charge of the mode of passion of material nature. Therefore, it was natural for him to become angry on the refusal of his sons to obey his order. Although the Kumaras were right in such acts of refusal, Brahma, being absorbed in the mode of passion, could not check his passionate anger. He didn't express it, however, because he knew that his sons were far enlightened in spiritual advancement, and thus he should not express his anger before them. So Lord Brahma was very angry, but he suppressed his anger because he knew that what Kumaras were doing was right, and he was being unfair to them. But yet, because Brahma is in the mode of passion, so he was also doing his duty. Now, this actually reminds me of a story where I had a customer who was always complaining about his son, that his son does not help him. He had a big supermarket. My son does not help me. I don't know what I will do. I'll have to sell this place when I retire. Nobody's helping me. Nobody's helping me. And then one day I was with this person, this customer, and his son was there. And he introduced me to his son. And his son was actually a doctor, a GP. And I thought to myself, in all this time, I was thinking, his son doesn't obey him, he doesn't help him. But then he introduced me to his son, who was a doctor. Then I'm thinking, why is this person complaining that his son doesn't help him? First he helps him to become a doctor, must have paid for his education. Now he's become a doctor. Now he wants him not to practice his medicine. He wants him to run a shop. I mean, how would that look? A doctor running a shop when he could be practicing his, what he worked so hard for. So it's a little bit like this here, that Brahma has created such exalted sons, but then he just wants them to live a material life like everybody else. Then what was the point of creating such exalted sons? So this is my remembrance of this incidents that happened with me. Okay, so Brahma is very angry at his son's refusal to obey him. And because he's angry, and although he tried to curb his anger, it came out from between his eyebrows, and a child mixed blue and red was immediately generated. So Brahma is always creating something or other, and now he has created a child who's blue and red, and is created from his eyebrows. The face of anger is the same whether exhibited due to ignorance or knowledge. Although Brahma tried to curb his anger, he could not do so, even though he is a supreme being. Such anger in its true color came from between the eyebrows of Brahma as Rudra, in a mixed color of blue, which is ignorance, and red, or passion. And because anger is the product of passion and ignorance. So after his birth, he began to cry. So Rudra began to cry, "O destiny maker, teacher of the universe, kindly designate my name and place." The all-powerful Brahma, who was born from the lotus flower, pacified the boy with gentle words, accepting his request, and said, "Don't cry, I shall certainly do as you desire." Thereafter, Brahma said, "O chief of the demigods, you shall be called by the name Rudra by all people because you have so anxiously cried. My dear boy, I have already selected the following places for your residence." So the Rudra is asking, where do I live? What do I do? He says, "I have selected places for residence. You will reside in the heart, in the senses, the air of life, the sky, the air, the fire, the water, the earth, the sun, the moon, and austerity." So the creation of Rudra from between the eyebrows of Brahma as a result of his anger, generated from the mode of passion, partly touched by ignorance, is very significant here. It's mentioned by Prabhupada. Yeah, in Bhagavad-Gita 3.37, the principle of Rudra is described as Krodha, which is the product of Kama, lust, which is a result of the mode of passion. Now, when lust and hankering are unsatisfied, as you remember in the later part of chapter 3, when lust and hankering are unsatisfied, the element of Krodha appears, which is formidable enemy of the conditioned souls. This most sinful and inimical passion is represented as Hankar, or the false egocentric attitude of thinking oneself to be in all. So such an egocentric attitude on the part of the conditioned soul who is completely under the control of material nature is described in Bhagavad-Gita as foolish. The egocentric attitude is a manifestation of the Rudra principle in the heart. So Rudra is residing everywhere in the heart, in the senses, air, life, in the air, the fire, etc. So the egocentric attitude is the manifestation of the Rudra principle in the heart, wherein Krodha is generated. Now, this anger develops in the heart and it's further manifested through various senses. So when we are angry, we express such anger with red hot eyes, and sometimes make a display of clenches, fists, and kicking legs. This exhibition of the Rudra principle is the proof of Rudra's presence in such places. So when we are angry, so whichever parts are being displayed or expressed, that's where Rudra resides. So when a man is angry, he breathes very rapidly, and thus Rudra is represented the air of life, or the activities of breathing. When the sky is overcast with dense clouds and roars in anger, and when the wind blows very fiercely, the Rudra principle is manifested. So this anger is manifested everywhere. And so also the sea water is infuriated by the wind. It appears in a gloomy feature of Rudra, which is very fearful to the common man. When fire is ablaze, we can also experience the presence of Rudra. And where there's an inundation of the earth, we can understand this is also the representation of Rudra. So Rudra, the form of anger, you want to know where he resides, and he resides everywhere. Wherever you see things being, out of control, in a lot of heat, anger, that's where Rudra resides. That's the Rudra principle. His anger has been expressed, or he is the anger. It's been expressed. So there are many earthly creatures who constantly represent the Rudra element. The snake, tiger, lion, always a representation of Rudra. Sometimes because of the extreme heat of the sun, there are cases of heat stroke. And due to the extreme coldness created by the moon, there are cases of collapse. There are many sages empowered with the influence of austerity, and many yogis, philosophers, and renouncers who sometimes exhibit their acquired power under the influence of the Rudra principle of anger and passion. And we know a very good example of that, which is the great yogi Durvasa Muni. Under the influence of this Rudra principle, picked a quarrel with Maharaj Ambrish, and a brown boy exhibited the Rudra principle by his cursing Lord, the great Maharaj Parikshit. And when the Rudra principle is exhibited by persons who are not engaged in the devotional service of Supreme Personality Godhead, the angry person falls down from the peak of his improved position. So when we are angry, we are using the Rudra principle. So Lord Brahma said, my dear boy Rudra, you have 11 other names: Menu, Mahinasa, Mahan, Shiva, Ratadvaj, Ugra Reta, Bhava, Kal, Vamadev, and Dritvarit. O Rudra, you have 11 wives called the Rudranis, and they are as follows: Di, Driti, Risala, Uma, Niyut, Sarpi, Ila, Ambika, Iravati, Sodha, and Diksha. My dear boy, you may now accept all the names and places designated for you and your different wives. And since you are now one of the masters of the living entities, you may increase the population on a large scale. So the most powerful Rudra, whose bodily color was blue mixed with red, created many offspring exactly resembling him in features, strength, and purest nature. The sons and grandsons generated by Rudra were unlimited in number, and when they assembled together, they attempted to devour the entire universe. When Brahma, the father of the living entity, saw this, he became afraid of the situation. So Brahma, he created something which even he couldn't control. Brahma told Rudra, "Oh, best among the demigods, there is no need for you to generate living entities of this nature. They have begun to devastate everything on all sides with the fiery flames from their eyes, and they have even attacked me." So these children, grandchildren, they attacked Brahma as well. My dear son, you had better situate yourself in a penance which is auspicious for all living entities and which will bring all benediction upon you. By penance only shall you be able to create the universe as it was before. Sri Maitreya said, this Rudra, having been ordered by Brahma, circumambulated his father, the master of the Vedas, addressing him with words of assent. He entered the forest to perform austere penances. So although Rudra was a very obeying type of son, but he can only create, what he can only, according to his nature, he can't do anything against his nature. Just like the four Kumaras, they had their nature. Rudra has his nature, and sometimes we just can't go away from our psychophysical nature. This is how we are, and this is all So, but at least he was listening to Lord Brahma and following his instructions as required. So next week we're going to carry on from here to what happens after that. So thank you all so much, and love to hear your thoughts on this. We'll start with the Jai Prabhu and get a rundown, so then we know what's what and what happened just now. All very sophisticated stuff. Jai Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes. So in this chapter, Brahma continues with the process of creation, and I think he tries to increase the population everywhere. So to help with this aim, he generates his own children. We've talked about four Kumaras and Rudras today, but there's others that come later on. So I think first he creates living conditions, the conditions under which living entities in the material world have to live in. And so, one of these is, forgetfulness of their true identity. So, if they need a real identity, won't be able to live in the material. So, and he said, if somebody acts in ignorance, Krishna will first help you, but if you persist, he let you slide down to the lowest level. So going on to the four Kumaras, so Brahma created these four sages, Sanat, Sanand, Sanatan, and Sanat. So known collectively as the four Kumaras, created them to take care of the four principles of spiritual advancement. So Brahma asked these four sons to generate progeny, but being pure devotees of Vasudeva, they were unwilling to comply and wanted to live a life of devotion and celibacy. So this made Brahma very angry. Although he did not express it, the anger showed up in between his eyebrows, and a child was born. So child was of red and blue, blue and red color. So apparently blue represents ignorance and red represents passion. I don't know whether anybody knows what the colors are for mindful goodness and pilgrims. Anyway.
White, I think.
Okay, yeah. So the boy was named Rudra, and as the father of Rudra, Brahma selected his wives, his living places, and his other names. So Brahma asked him to increase the population large scale, which he abided by. But as he was born out of anger, I think Rudra, represented anger himself. So he created unlimited amount of offspring who were all of the same furious nature as him, and soon all his descendants started causing devastation everywhere. So I think Brahma was not happy with this, and he asked him to perform penance. So yes, I think that's where he left it today. But so Lord Shiva is, because that's one of his other names. Is this actually the birth of Lord Shiva, or it's not clear, is it?
Yeah, that's Lord Shiva. Yeah, it's Rudra. There's another name for Lord Shiva. I think there's 11 Rudras altogether. Yeah, it's but that is Shiva. Yeah, is Mahadev, the Devokadev Mahadev.
So Brahma is his father. I mean, well, sort of.
Yes.
His father.
Yeah. Brahma.
Yeah, I think I'll leave it there. Yeah, that's where we stop, isn't it? Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. But anyway, thank you, Jai Prabhu, and my father-in-law is there. Rukmani Mataji, Parveen Mataji, Sureshi Mataji, Prem Prakash Prabhu. Thank you all for joining this morning. Rukmani Mataji, want to make any comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
This Rudra means anger, no?
Yeah, it seems like. Yeah, I think Rudra, is saying that one who cried very loudly when he was born. He cried, so they named him Rudra. That's how it's mentioned earlier on.
Oh. And Bhagavatam said, lust, unsatisfied element of anger is manifested. So this is all very difficult to understand, but the best thing is to be under the shelter of Krishna. Then we can avoid all these matters, Krodh, Rudra, and all these, the nature of the person, isn't it?
Yeah, see, I mean, anger is created. So it is saying that anger is created, though such thing as anger due to Rudra. So it was, it's all obviously planned, isn't it? And there is such thing as anger, and that comes from the Rudra principle, because Brahmaji got angry, and then that sort of manifested into all of us as well. The whole universe is anger there, in the sky, in the waters, in the fire. So everything can be used in the service of Lord Krishna. We can even use anger in the service of Lord Krishna. It says that we as devotees, if we bring it to our personal level, as devotees, we should tolerate and we should be polite to everyone. We should not express anger as far as we can. Shouldn't express it. But if somebody is being like now, this Bangladesh atrocities and devotees being killed and Prabhupada's deity being burnt and like that. I mean, we don't have to go around killing people, but we can use our anger to do, to protest, isn't it? So, we can't just be like complete silence or just patience. We can do for ourselves, but when it's happened to another devotee, we should express some form of anger. But we can't break the law as well at the same time. So anger is necessary as well. So sometimes we need anger, like Lord Krishna was saying in Bhagavad-Gita that that they have to. Just taking atrocity is also a sinful as well. You have to sometimes fight back. Whether it's fighting back with the arguments or other ways, you have to fight back when atrocities are happening, or people are insulting the devotees or the deities.
Best example was Hanumanji.
Yeah,
He displayed his anger when he burnt Lanka.
absolutely, very good. Yeah.
And also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Nityananda Prabhu was attacked.
Good. Yeah. That's right. So anger is necessary, but it has to be directed in the right way and in the service of the Lord. That's the best way. And these are very good examples of that.
And also Mahatma Gandhi was killed by Godse.
Yeah, that was the wrong way to use anger. For Nathuram, that was probably the wrong way to use anger, killing such a great person.
He was a Vaishnava, pure Vaishnava.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what not to do. Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Parveen Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Yeah, well, what I was thinking was like probably we are still creation of Rudra because we've got all these qualities and we are so angry and everything. So Jai Prabhu is summarized really nicely. So nothing else to add, but that's all I'm thinking, because we got all the bad qualities that I mentioned that Brahmaji created first. So then it's not like our fault. Then sometimes we think, oh, why I'm like this? Why do I get angry? So I know we can work on it. So I am getting better. I don't get as much angry. I do bite my tongue now. If I want to say something, I say, no, it doesn't matter now. It's not important. So yeah, when we do try to engage in devotional service, so when we are trying to make an effort, want to get closer to Krishna, then yes, it does help to stay away from these things. So that's all I'll say, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yeah, I mean, thing is, we can use as an excuse that Lord Brahma created anger, so it's not our fault. He created it, but he also created illusion as well. And then we can say, okay, we're under illusion because Lord Brahma created it, but we really can't use that as an excuse, really, because it's also mentioned that anger, greed, and lust are the three gateways to hell. So these are just obstacles that have been created, but we have to overcome these. This is the thing. Unless we want to go to hell, then we can increase our anger and we can increase our greed, we can increase our lust. And I tell you, and Mataji, I know you would know this anyway, that there is no limit to these things, is there? Anger, greed, lust. They are, the more angry one gets, there's no where do you stop with this anger? How far you take it, how far you take greed, how far you take lust. So we're given the intelligence, we use intelligence to control these things and get devoted to Krishna. And if you are going to use these things, they have been created. So if you're going to use them, then use them in the service of Krishna. Have greed for bhakti. Turn your lust into love for Krishna. So all these things are there, but we have to direct them in the right way.
Yeah, it is very interesting, Prabhuji, how devotional service does help you, like you mentioned. So yes, it is very nice. So yeah, I'm glad. Again, big gratitude to Srila Prabhupada, to leave all this legacy for us, so we can, like before, like you think, oh, everybody's doing this, everybody's getting angry, so maybe that is the way. But then now learning all this, and now, not that I was doing any bad thing, hurting anybody or anything. It was just getting angry at the situation people were putting us into.
It's frustration.
Frustration, yeah. So, but now we know it's not worth it. The people can do whatever they want to do. We just got a path, and yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madhuri. See, it's all about association. This is why we need to associate with Lord Krishna and his instructions in chapter 16 or 17, divine and demonic natures. Well, there's divine and demonic inside us all in the Kali Yuga. It resides inside us. Which nature do we want? Do you want the divine nature? Do you want the demonic nature? If you want divine nature, then you associate with Krishna's teachings. You associate with Krishna and his pure devotees all day long, because then it's your association, you get those qualities and you attract those qualities by association. It's automatic. It's a natural progression that if you're associating with good things, then you will also become like that yourself. Thank you, Madhuri. Okay. Sureshi Madhuri?
Hare Krishna, everybody.
Krishna Madhuri.
After long tapasya for about 100 celestial years, Brahma was empowered with knowledge how to create. And it's very important to be empowered by Lord Krishna. Unless you are empowered and have knowledge, you can't do anything yourself. It's like our Prabhupada. He was empowered by Lord Krishna and he formed a big movement like ISKCON. And there's so many exalted preachers in ISKCON are all empowered. Without the empowered by Krishna, they couldn't have so much knowledge to preach. And they say without a knowledge, you can't advance spiritually. And the knowledge is cause of liberation, and ignorance is the cause of bondage. Brahma first he created all these four activities which were mostly ignorance, like lack of knowledge, and he created them before the living entity. He created it, but he wasn't very happy about it. But he had to do it because of the conditioned souls. And so when he created all those ignorant things, then he purified himself and he may meditate and again on Lord Krishna. And then he created 4 Kumaras, and as been mentioned, devotees have mentioned how Kumaras and Brahma expected them. He created Kumaras to create progeny. That was the main thing that was told by Krishna to Brahma. But they didn't want it. And they said they want to be devotees of Krishna. And that's why Brahma got very angry, and through his eyebrows, Rudra came, and they were all born of all ignorance. And so it's very important that although Brahma created all this ignorance, and because it is because of conditioned soul have got all those qualities. That's why he had to create them. And although he created all this ignorance, but then Krishna, he always gives us knowledge, and he gives the knowledge to get over that ignorance through the scriptures. Bhagavad-Gita is the main thing. Bhagavad-Gita is full of knowledge. It tells you how to live, how to get over all the ignorance. That's what I can say. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mataji. Thanks so much. Absolutely right. So the ignorance is there, but at the same time, we are giving knowledge as well. And we can choose. If we choose, then take the knowledge and become enlightened and understand, get out of the illusion, basically. Thank you so much, Mataji. Prem Prakash Prabhu. Are you able to unmute?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so I have very small, I don't know pronounce too well, and very small realization is that although we talk about Krishna, like although we talk about Krishna, so although we talk about, just like we talk about Krishna and Lord Vishnu, and we see that when the creation happens, Virat Roop appears, they appear at the different times, even after the appearance of Agni Dev and Vayudev. So that's something I mean, looking from the mundane perspective, we'll see that how come Lord is appearing after appearance of the demigods like that. So we need to understand the fact that he is always present, always there, but he just made entry into a scene at that period of time. The movie that is going on in this universe, he made entry during that period of time. Like that, when we see that Lord Shiva coming as a Rudra from the eyes, between the eyes, I mean, Brikati, what we call in Hindi, of Lord Brahma, it is not to be understood that he is born out of Brahma. I mean, many will mistake because of that he's born out of a Brahma, but it's not like that. He made appearance in that form, in this creation, like that, because it's been said that, I mean, 100 words of Brahma, if he performs his duty perfectly and he's not able to go back to Godhead, then he's given chance to be Rudra, to take Rudra's position, not be Rudra even, to take Rudra's position. And Shiv Tattva is beyond our perception, basically. He's always there. He's just like transformation or expansion of Lord Vishnu, the Shiv Tattva. So it's very different than what our understanding is. So I just had this realization because I was reading Canto 3, the appearance of Virat Purusha, and then I read that how come Lord Vishnu is appearing there as a presiding deity of movement and a movement, and then I actually able to understand that, no, this is how he makes entry into universe, basically. At that period he's always there. Lord Brahma is Jiva Tattva, but Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva are Shiv Tattva and Vishnu Tattva, so they are entirely different from what we perceive. Another example is Lord Varahadev coming on the nostrils of Lord Brahma. Doesn't mean that he is born out of Lord Brahma. He's always there, but he makes appearance during that period of time in that way. So being appeared, lordships appear for a specific purpose, specific at specific time, to carry out specific, to do serve or the universe. I mean, not serve, but actually carry out some specific his leela during that period of time. So that's how Lord Rudra appears, and then this whole pastime is there in Shiva Puran, like that. But from Vaishnava perspective, we understand that like milk turns into curd, so Vishnu Tattva and Shiv Tattva are related like milk and curd, so they turn blue. And we have to respect both of them, because in Ramayana as well it said that one who respects Ramji and respects Shivji, he doesn't get the love of Godhead, and vice versa as well, doesn't love of Godhead. So initial days of my career as in ISKCON, I was very fanatic, but then I learned that, then I built up my understanding and just wanted to share that. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for, yes, wonderful realizations there. Yeah, absolutely. We have to respect Krishna and his staff, so to speak, who are helping him in this creation and running of this creation, helping the living entities realize that that their real place is back home, or help them to go back home, back to Godhead. And we have to respect them all, because they are also helping us to go back to Godhead. Thank you so much, Prabhu. That's beautiful. I think you have guests today. By the sound, you have some guests.
Yes, we have some guests from Reddit.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll have a couple of rounds now. And this weekend, Saturday, well, tomorrow, we have the big program in Great Bar, and then house program in Certain Corbett on Sunday. So look forward to meeting you there. And we got Sutapa Prabhu, who gives wonderful class. So hope you can join. Okay. Rukmini Mataji would like to make a start on a round, please.
Okay, yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, is it in Great Bar or
Sorry, Mataji,
Darlaston?
you're right. This time it's in Dalston. Yes. Yes. Thank you so much.
Darlaston, yeah. I thought we are making
Yes.
mistake about it.
Thank you.
Okay,
We only made that
Prabhuji.
mistake on the email. So yeah, thank you. It's in Dalston.
Are these Saturday classes, are they being recorded for later release or anything like that?
They are recorded. I mean, we're not going live with them because we want everybody to come and join us there.
And that, yeah. Will they be released at some point?
Yeah, and now Nataiki Prabhu is recording them. So yeah, maybe we can ask him to send them out later on. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
It is tomorrow, no, Prabhuji? Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes, tomorrow night, yeah. 6
Okay.
o'clock start in Dalston.
Okay, Prabhuji.